builds on everything else. It's all a cycle, and you can't focus on one simple thing. And the main issue with almost everyone is what? Stress, lack of sleep, nutrition, and it's all interrelated. And you know what? Nikan should own stress. You should realize that when you go out and talk to people, that you're not going to go out and just talk to them about sleep. You should really feel that you actually own the information on sleep. Because Nikan's been doing it for longer than anyone. And you have so much material and so many great products that help with sleep that you should feel confident that your company owns sleep. So get that in your mind. Don't think I'm going to maybe tell somebody about it. You're going to educate somebody about it and make them realize that this is the place to be to improve their sleep. Because it's the key to everything. Everything kind of cycles off the quality of your sleep. Now, a lot of people will wonder, well, what does sleep and light have to do with eating and putting on weight, obesity, diabetes? But it's a proven fact that the longer you stay up every day and the more sleep that you lose, just because you have insomnia or you're just staying up late and exposing yourself to light, your body goes into a pattern that's hundreds of thousands of years old. If you've heard me talk before, and I've given the talk about how magnetic energy is really something that is essential. It's like a vitamin, to your body. Your cells require being connected to the earth with magnetic energy because throughout all of time that human beings have existed, you've always been connected to the earth. And so as every cell in your body has evolved, and learn new processes and become healthier and evolve to the human beings we are today, magnetic energy was always involved in that evolution. And so if you're without it, it's like missing nutrition. Your cells do not function the same way. And the same concept applies to light. For hundreds of thousands of years, human beings got up with the sun, went to sleep when the sun went down, and they had a long, prolonged sleep. And their whole body fell into a cycle that had to do with light. And the only time that you actually stayed up late was in the summer. And so what happens at the end of summer? You're staying up late, the sun doesn't go down till late, and there's all this fruit available. So your body, and people then were gorging on fruit every summer to make them fatter for the winter. It's a normal cycle of life. And so your body, when you stay up till 11 o'clock at night watching TV or you got a computer in your face, your body thinks it's summer and that you need to eat more sugar. And when you do, it thinks it needs to make it into fat, right? So you're wondering why that late night snack, and by the way, does anybody snack on KBB at 11 o'clock at night?
Yes.
No, they're looking for ice cream. They're looking for sugar. They're getting that refrigerator light burn on their face, right? And so the reality is when you prolong your day and expose yourself to artificial light, then you're basically just telling every cell in your body to absorb all that sugar and turn it into fat. Because the fall and the winter is coming up pretty soon. And you're going to need all that stored energy because you won't have access to food. It doesn't know that you're doing this every single day. So literally, most people that you talk to are exposing themselves to a cycle that makes their body think it's the end of August every single day of their life. That they have to take all their sugar and make it into fat. And how do you break that? You teach somebody about sleep. You teach somebody about turning the lights down a little bit at night and getting exposed to natural light. This is one of the reasons why we have so much sugar consumption, so much obesity, and so much weakness of the adrenals, because countless studies have been done. And you know what the number one food is that people eat when they don't sleep enough? Anybody know? It's called ice cream. Ice cream consumption goes up about 400 calories a day on average for the person who doesn't get enough sleep. And you can see what that adds up to at the end of the year. Now everything is about cycles of energy. We're going to have a great talk tomorrow on circadian rhythm, which is fascinating, and I'm going to be here for that myself. And so, but everything is on this cycle, and everything is synchronized to the cycle of the sun and its light. You know, one of the products that we rarely talk about, and too many people use is the Nikon light. And I love that product. I have it sitting right over my laptop in my office because it offsets the energy of that screen, and it puts me into a light that I want to have. I have the first model that came out, and I'm looking at that. Have it cycle down to the highest thing at the beginning of the day and cycle it down at night. And it's an exposure like the cycle of the sun. And our bodies are in sync with, or in tune with this light, and everything in it works according to what you're actually exposed to. And again, this is something hardly anybody knows about. These are being exposed to light, getting back into a natural cycle of life. So all your hormones are set up on cycles of light, and it's directly tied to your adrenals and adrenal stress. Most people don't realize that your body will cause a stress response every single morning to help wake you up. Your cortisol has to rise in the morning, but it doesn't have to rise really high. What happens when you don't sleep, though, is that you have a stress response. Or maybe it's Monday morning, so you hate your job, right? And so when you hate your job, you wake up on Monday morning. It's the reason why almost half of all heart attacks happen on Monday morning. Because people just had a whole bunch of fun for 2 days, and now they realize they got to go back to work because they don't like their work. Just the fact that you could be able to go to sleep at night and be excited about waking up about what you're going to do actually lowers your chances of having a heart attack, especially on Monday mornings. So there's all these things that are tied into adrenal stress, and when you wake up in the morning and you have not had a good night's sleep, your cortisol goes up, you're being stressed, and you know what happens next? For almost everybody, because they don't know about KVV or how to eat, for everybody, the first thing they do is eat sugar. Because one, they don't have a plan, and two, it's the thing that you crave the most when you're stressed. Until you break that sugar habit, you just fall into a habit of grabbing something quick. It's almost always toast, it's juice, and it's coffee. And the combination of all of those just makes your blood sugar go sky high. And at the same time, because you're stressed, you don't secrete insulin to clear out the blood sugar because your body thinks you're being attacked and you need to fight someone, right? This is at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're just really just looking at burnt toast coming out of your toaster, right? And you're having a stress response and your body thinks you're in danger and you have all this blood sugar, and this is the reason why losing one night's sleep makes you pre-diabetic, because your blood sugar is now up to 300. And you've just added some extra simple sugar to it, and your body cannot clear it out. Now you go out in traffic, and maybe somebody cuts you off, or you're just 5 minutes late, and the cycle goes on and on and on. And it all is because you didn't have a plan, and you missed a night's sleep. And it's really easy to interrupt that and to start something different. When you don't fall into a deep sleep, there's two things that happen that are crucial to your health, especially as you age. One, you don't get a release of human growth hormone, which is how your body starts a cycle of repairing itself every single night. Within the first hour and a half, that has to happen, and you have to fall into a deep sleep in that hour and a half. And the other thing that happens, which is something that is new to science, just was promoted on a brilliant TED Talk I watched, is the fact that they now know that your brain secretes cerebral spinal fluid that actually washes your entire brain at night when you sleep. And this is now what they're saying is maybe the main reason why people need sleep, because their brain needs the detox and go through this washing process at night. But you miss all that when you have insomnia. You miss all that when you don't fall into deep sleep. And part of that is, again, being exposed to too much light in the nighttime. Because you know that cortisol I talked about? You wake up in the morning, it's natural to be up and to have some energy. If you eat right, it levels off and it stays at a steady level, right? Well, in the evening, it's supposed to go down. In the mid-afternoon, it starts going down, and it goes down at evening, and all of a sudden you're in a more relaxed mode. And that allows you to secrete melatonin at night if you're not exposed to too much light, and which puts you to sleep and helps you go into that deep sleep. But if it doesn't, and you're eating too much sugar, or you're not eating at all, and this is the other thing, if you're starving yourself because you're dieting, then you're going to produce more cortisol again. So instead of being able to fall asleep, you're basically getting wound up again, and you're getting agitated, and you're awake, and you don't release melatonin, which is one of the most potent antioxidants for your brain, is melatonin. As you can see, what does it all tie back into? The fact that you weren't sleeping and you're not eating the right diet because you don't have a plan. And this is why it leads into sugar cravings, it leads into diabetes, and it makes your stress even worse. So, I wanted to point out a few nutritionals today, but I'm covering more of it tomorrow. But I wanted to point these out because so many people have this mistaken idea about nutrition, is that they use it for something, right? Instead of being part of your life, they use it for one thing. Like Ciaga is a great antioxidant. I take it because it's an antioxidant. No, it's actually a whole food that has antioxidant capacity, and it reduces inflammation. It's great for your arteries, it's great for your brain. It's great for just about every aspect of your health. And it's really almost impossible to get the quality of that type of a food in your system if you're trying to buy berries, which is what Ciaga is made up of. If you had to buy the berries to get the activity in one bottle of Ciaga, it might cost you 90 bucks a month, at least, to be able to replace that when you're looking at the quality of organic ingredients that's used in that product. And so it's a food that your body absolutely has to have to prevent premature aging of the brain, of your arteries, which is all tied together with a whole bunch of chronic diseases. But look at it as a whole food. The same way with bergesterol. So many people think, well, bergesterol is just for cholesterol. If I don't have that, why would I think about it? Why? Because, heart disease is the #1 killer in America and all over the world. But also because, again, it has very unique antioxidants in it that work in your arteries to remove inflammation, which really is the key to almost all longevity and chronic illness, is how much inflammation you have in your cardiovascular system. So it's a wonderful food, whether you think you want to work on cholesterol or not. It's actually a food that's been shown to regulate or lower, have an influence on blood pressure, on levels of blood sugar, which is really important. I honestly feel that bergesterol, if it works on your levels of blood sugar, is more important than any cholesterol level you would ever have. Because we now know that blood sugar levels are tied into every chronic illness, including premature aging of the brain. And so you got to look at these things as whole foods and how you're going to work on your entire system. You can teach people that if you have a protein food in the morning, very first thing, it changes how your brain functions. And after about 5 or 6 days of having it by itself, it changes your cravings for sugar. And you know how huge that is? Getting rid of cravings for sugar. How many people have had that happen to them here? I can guarantee you almost everybody that happened for never thought they could get rid of their cravings for sugar. I've been stopped in the hallway 3 times yesterday alone and thanked because they got rid of their cravings for sugar. They started to lose weight. It's the #1 thing that stops every diet known to man, is cravings for something. But you know what? Cravings for sugar is the root cause of your cravings for alcohol, your cravings for tobacco, your cravings for all types of drugs, because it sets your brain up on a pattern of cravings. And when you break the craving for sugar habit, you take your brain back, you have control of your life, and it starts to make a difference in every phase of your life. It's not just about losing weight. It's about becoming who you are and taking control of your life again. And once you do that, you can do anything. The average person that you run into out in the world doesn't know a thing about nutrition. Absolutely nothing. You could grab onto 2 or 3 concepts and never vary off of it for the rest of your life and be a teacher to every single person you run into. And everybody will think you're a wizard. Believe me. If you can help them with your sugar cravings, you'll have a friend for life, and they'll think you're the most interesting, intelligent person they've ever met. based on that one thing, because no one's ever taught them anything about nutrition. No one's ever taught them anything about that they can get back in control of their life through their diet, and that it makes an impact on how they think and how they act and what they do for the rest of their life. No one's out there teaching anybody about this. All they say is, well, eat this once a day and reduce your calories. Well, you know what? You don't even have cravings for calories once you get rid of your cravings for sugar. Because it's the reason why you eat junk food anyway. Because your brain is constantly craving something. And you're constantly grabbing something to satisfy that craving. And when the sugar craving goes away, the whole thing changes. You even have different taste buds once you get rid of your cravings for sugar. Because that's not the number one thing you're always eating, so it's not coating your tongue and influencing every single thing you eat. So you look at this whole lineup, and I haven't even mentioned immunity. You look at that lineup, and it's really about a life-changing program that you can offer to anyone that will have the most influence on their life of any program they've ever been introduced to, because you're helping them with cravings for sugar and actually teaching them something. And you add in sleep to that, and you've got a life program. And again, you know, Nikan owns sleep, so don't be afraid to actually introduce that to people. So, this concept of homeostasis that I'm always talking about, it's really about how your body repairs everything, how it keeps everything into balance, and it's the number one thing that has to do with stress. When you fall into sleep and go into that deep sleep, and this is really the key to Nikan's sleep system. You know how when I talk about you've been exposed for hundreds of thousands of years to the magnetic energy of the earth, and how if you're missing that, your cells are just missing a component of life. They just don't function as well. You might not notice it so much when you're 20 or 30, but you do when you're 40, and you do when you're 50, because all the things you've been missing for a long time start to show up then. That's really what chronic disease is about. So all those things you missed for the first 30 years that your body was making up for, and now it's breaking down because it can't do it anymore. The magnetic energy, the energy of the earth is one of those things. So when you lay down on a bed, though, it's being laid down into a cocoon of magnetic energy. You're returning your body to an environment that was normal for it hundreds of thousands of years ago. You always slept on the ground. You never were actually away from the earth. And when you get into that cocoon of energy, every cell in your body changes and it starts to relax. It actually gets a signal that it's time to go to sleep. It's time to let go of tension and actually go into a healing phase. And at that moment, you have the greatest chance to shut off the stress response. And that is the stress response is on almost 24 hours a day for almost every single person in this country. Because we are a country that's all about getting and moving forward and accomplishing and grabbing as much as we want, and that all creates stress. And a lot of that is good if you get what you want. It's not good if you don't get what you want. It causes stress. And so to shut that off is the only way you're going to allow your body to reset the program and actually go into deep sleep. And that's what the beauty of the whole sleep system from Nikan is, that that cocoon of energy that you envelop your system with at night allows it to shut down. And it's the number one, it gets rid of the number one thing that keeps you from becoming stressed. It keeps you from becoming healthy. And that thing is your brain. It actually shuts it off. And unless you shut your brain off and go into deep sleep, you'll never really reach that goal of feeling vibrant and alive at all times and being as healthy as you want to be. So it's real simple. You talk about sleep, you get people into using the sleep system, you talk about how diet influences it, and you know what? That breakfast is the very most important thing. You start out with a KVB, and let's say you missed a night's sleep, and you're having a huge stress response, and you're not the average American because you have a plan, right? You know about KVB. So you go downstairs and you have a drink, a protein drink, and that does not elevate your blood sugar. So that stress response you're having starts to calm down, and your adrenals start to actually relax a bit, and your blood sugar starts to regulate. You don't automatically go into pre-diabetic stage because you have a plan and you know about KVB. So the protein breakfast starts immediately to stop the cycle of stress and regulate your sugar. And then during the day, you follow a program of limiting your carbs a little bit and eating more protein, all the vegetables you want, and your adrenals go into this natural cycle again of not being stimulated so much, and they start to calm down. And then as the night goes on and you get near dinner, that's the time to eat more carbohydrates, because carbohydrates mean serotonin. Serotonin means relaxing. It means melatonin. It means your adrenals are actually going to calm down and allow you to go to sleep. It's all a natural thing that you can teach anybody about, and that will bring about weight loss. And weight loss will not be hard. Why? Because you've actually taught people about whole foods, and they've naturally changed their own diet because they got rid of cravings for sugar, and the weight really doesn't come back. You know, that is possible. You know, the big thing they talk about on TV all the time with weight loss is that most people gain it back within 4 to 5 months. Why is that? Because they're eating bad food, they're eating junk that's just frozen dinners people tell them about, and they've never actually learned anything about dieting. I had an aunt that was on one of those nationally broadcasted diet programs, and literally every 2 weeks she had to go to a meeting. So she dieted for 1 day before the 2-week meeting. She just didn't eat anything for 24 hours. She'd lose 1 or 2 pounds, and then she'd go in and give them their weight, right? Why? Because they never taught her a single thing about food. She didn't know why she was doing any of it other than that it was this little restricted box of frozen stuff she was supposed to eat 3 times a day. She learned nothing about whole foods, about getting into a natural cycle, and actually getting rid of sugar cravings. But you can do it. Once you do it, your taste buds change and you lose your cravings for sugar, weight never really has to come back. You know, when I was 19 years old, which is a very long time ago. It's funny. I just turned 60 a couple weeks ago, right? I used to always hate the word senior, but when they stick discount to it, it doesn't bother me so much. But anyway, back when I was 19, I lost 125 pounds. I went from 267 down to 142, which is pretty light for me. I weigh about 170 now because I made an effort to gain weight. It's not because I couldn't keep it off. I was around 160 for almost 25 years after that. And I even made it up to that because I tried to gain weight. I actually realized how thin I was when I was at 142. But the reality is I've never gained that back. And why is that? It's been 40 years, right? I've never gained it back because I eat whole food. You just can't eat enough of it to gain a lot of weight. You have to put so much effort into eating. If you're eating good food, that you just don't put on weight. And because you don't have cravings, you can have anything you want, and you don't think about having sugar. You don't think about having dessert all the time. But when you do, you actually enjoy it, and you love it, and the next day you don't think about it again because your brain has changed. You've stepped out of the cycle of addiction to sugar and the addiction to TV commercials and all these things that teach you things about eating. And you've got back into control of your life. And you know what? That control isn't just about your diet. It's about every part of your life. Because once you get rid of the sugar cravings and you take back your brain, basically you can do anything you want. You have more stamina. There's more excitement in life. It actually activates the part of your brain that it has to do with creativity, with art, with pleasure. All these things are shut down when you're just addicted to sugar and you don't pay any attention to your life. And all those things can be simply changed forever just by learning about sleep and learning about controlling your diet with KVB in the morning and having a protein breakfast and breaking the cycle. Because again, everything is about the cycles that we either have in nature that we have to follow, or about the cycles we create with our own mistakes about living. And most of us are still in that pattern of the cycles we've created our whole life, and we can actually break that quite easily. So this is what I like about nutrition, and how you can actually control your adrenals, you can control your stress, your food, your sugar cravings. Everything in your life can be controlled if you just become conscious of it and actually look at it and then learn it and teach other people about it. This is what I love about nutrition, what I love about Nikken products, is that there's an ability, because they really are about nature. They're about bringing nature into your own life. You know, think about it: sleep, light, good food, whole food. It's about bringing nature back into your environment. And when you can teach people that, that's when you have someone that's going to become a friend or maybe a business partner for the rest of your life. Because everyone out there is looking to learn something. And the one thing that hardly anyone knows anything about is health, nutrition, and how to change their life from the cycle that they're caught up into a cycle of prosperity and harmony and feeling really good and vibrant.